Call to order the Grant County Board of Commissioners work session meeting and special meeting. Where's the special meeting? Right here. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Are there any changes need to come on the special meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we're going to recess. If I can get a motion to recess from the Grant County Board of Commissioners and convene as the Grant County Canvassing Board.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Call to order the Grant County Canvassing Board. First item on the agenda is to approve or disapprove the canvass of the 2016 general election results. Do you want us to just go down and look at those?
Sure, I know that both of you already looked beforehand. So
I looked already. I looked yesterday
I know that both of you.
and everything looked good.
Okay. And do we have a presentation or?
No, just wanted a couple talking points.
Okay.
Grant County, we had voting 57% voter turnout, which is a little low for presidential election. The last two general elections with presidents on the ballot, we were at 62% both times. So we fell a little bit short of that. Early voting again continues to be high in Grant County. I think I attribute that to such a long time for early voting. It's 28 days, so plenty of time to come in and vote, and most people take advantage of that, especially the hunters. The hunters really take advantage of the fact that they can come in to vote before they head out. Other than that, we really had an uneventful election, thankfully. We had the Secretary of State, other agencies sending emails and calling to be prepared for the worst on election day, but Grant County did an excellent job of going to the polls and doing what they needed to do and not causing any kind of problems for us or for our poll workers. Very smooth election on our end. The first county to report, we were done by 8 p.m. on election night, and again, our staff, top-notch staff, we have to thank them. Marisa Castillo, Connie Holguin, and Liz Gomez, along with our poll workers of Grant County. Without them, this could never happen. I never really take an opportunity to get up here and say anything or, get on a soapbox, but I do want to reach out to the parties a little bit. Our Republican and Democratic parties, we've kind of, past elections, we've kind of started to have a lot of challengers and watchers, and I do want to caution them because at some point, our poll workers are not going to want to work for us because those individuals are kind of, we have one party that really believes in voter suppression and one party that believes in voter turnout is the way to go. So we have conflicts of interest there. And our poll workers are the ones that are seeing the remnants of that butting heads. So eventually I'd like to caution both parties that at some point we get together with our future clerks and try to resolve this in a good civil way, because the only people that are being affected by it are our poll workers. And geez, we have a hard time finding good poll workers in Grant County. We're very lucky that we have the ones that we have. They do an outstanding job, but for the most part, those individuals are volunteering for us, and it's getting more difficult to get those individuals to come out and work the polls because we have, a dividing line that kind of happens on election day, and for the most part, those poll workers and ourselves in our office are all striving for the same goal as a good, honest, clean election. We follow the statutes of the state of New Mexico, the election code. So there really aren't any problems to those things that you've heard on the news and the media. All of those things really, they're very difficult to prove, and I don't think they've really been proven in the state of New Mexico. So I do want to caution those two major parties that, for the sanctity of the elections, that we kind of reel in what we've been trying to do on their end. That way we can work together to make sure that future elections run as smooth as this one did. So other than that, I don't have any other questions or any other...
I want to take this opportunity if I may, Chair, and congratulate you and your staff and the poll workers. I had an opportunity several times to go in and harass them and see what they were doing, and you're top notch. I tell you what, your people are highly trained. They've got answers. They don't have to look it up, or they know it. And so I just want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of Grant County and this commission, and personally, that we are so fortunate to have you guys, and the handoff is going to be great. Our next clerk, she is wonderful. Whenever I was running for office all those years, if I had a question, I know who to go to, and so we're very fortunate in Grant County to have you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. The one thing that this election we saw in our office during early voting was the amount of time we had to take to educate voters, because you'd be surprised at how many voters went in with the I heard or I read comments about elections. So a lot of our early voting, myself, Marisa, Connie, and Liz, had to take time out of what we were doing to kind of educate individuals as to, what you have heard or what you may read really isn't the case. The state of New Mexico went to paper ballots many years ago. It's a great system. A lot of voter education took place this election. So, again, that goes back on the staff for knowing their jobs and knowing how elections work.
I want to echo Commissioner's statements. You've always done a great job the 6 years I've got to work with you, and you've turned into a great friend too. So we're going to miss you, but I'm sure that your staff is going to take over, and they're going to do just fine. And congratulations on being the first one in the state. It always, since we've worked with other counties to get our representatives, it's always very frustrating for those of us watching to see who's going to win, to find out that, Sierra County's last.
There's so few precincts that they have to deal with. I don't really understand what they're waiting for.
They do it horseback. So, all right, with that being said, can I get a motion to approve the canvass of 2016 general election results?
I'd make a motion to approve the canvass of 2016 general election results.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Can I get a motion to adjourn the Grant County Canvassing Board?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll call back to order the Grant County Board of Commissioners. I want to start the commission work session. We had a longtime firefighter with the Santa Rita Volunteer Fire Department, Lonnie Bauerfund, passed away of cancer on October 27th. He was a 13-year veteran of the fire department, and if you'll join me in a moment of silence for him. Thank you very much. First thing, I want to note that we have our senator here today, Mr. Senator Morales. Did you have anything you wanted to? We don't get this every week, so if you got something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission, staff, and elected officials. I wanted to come into a couple things, is to be present for the canvassing and the official results of the elections, and also to commend the Grant County Clerk's Office in the County of Grant for just being an example of how elections could be run. Elections is probably one of the most stressful things that I've ever done. I can remember my first election as a county clerk, just how difficult it was, and having to balance everything out and a lot of the questions. And so I have to say that, I'm extremely proud of when I had the opportunity to move on to the state senate of the individual and the county clerk that the county had appointed into the position to fill the term and has since then held it for 2 terms. It is somewhat bittersweet because it is the last election that Robert will be conducting, but I have to say that I'm extremely proud of him. And I have to give credit also to the county commission back then, when Florida had taken place and we knew what happened back then in the early 2000s, elections were forever going to be changed. And we had gone to the county commission, Charles Kelly was on the commission, Henry Torres and Marianne Cedillo, and we asked to consider having a Bureau of Elections department within the county clerk's office. And I think that that's been such a benefit to the people and the residents of Grant County. We've seen that the last, actually it's been 10 years, am I correct, Robert? 9 years that's under Robert's leadership with the clerk's office. You don't hear very much of an election, kind of like a referee. You won't hear much of complaints unless something bad goes wrong, something bad happens. And I have to say that as far as elections and things going wrong, we haven't seen that in Grant County. And nothing happens by accident. It's meticulous planning. It's making sure that you pay attention to detail, making sure that you're listening to people and all along being respectful of what it is that their concerns are. And the Grant County Clerk's Office has done that. So I just want to come in and just to commend each one of you and to commend our Grant County Clerk's Office for being a leader in the state. I carry a lot of legislation in the state because of my election and county clerk's background. I carry a lot of legislation that deals with elections, and it's going to make me proud whenever I stand up and I say, if you want to know how to do elections, look to Grant County. Because Robert said that they were done by 8 p.m. I was actually here 8:47 p.m. is when they finished, and they reported to the Secretary of State's office, first in the state, and I think it's something that we can all celebrate and know that we were able to keep Abby, for one, from away from any of those lawsuits or any of those type of things that come up in many counties. We were able to avoid that. So thank you once again, and thank you for the opportunity to allow me to come here to give my gratitude to each of you.
You bet. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
I also want to recognize in the audience, we have a couple of commissioners-elect, Commissioner-elect Brown and Commissioner-elect Billings. Thanks for coming today. So the purpose of a work session, of the county work session, is to inform the Grant County Board of Commissioners of the agenda items that will be addressed at the next regular meeting, and for the department heads and other elected officials to communicate with the commissioners in regards to matters in their respective departments. In accordance with Grant County Resolution 1601, we welcome the public to attend. However, there will be no public input at this meeting. I probably didn't get an approval on this agenda, did I? Can I pass that?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First item on this agenda today is Mr. Steve House is going to give us a presentation on potential solar at the conference center, then the detention center, and the administration building. Good morning, Mr. House.
Good morning. Morning, Chair, Commissioners. Thanks for having me today. Congratulations on your election. Sounds like a very successful election. Just 60 seconds of background. Several months ago, Charlene and Misha contacted me looking for some help with a feasibility analysis on adding solar to your facilities, 3-inch specific. So we started looking at that. As you probably are aware of, the P&M rate landscape has changed, and so that's changed what we're doing with, relative to looking at the feasibility analysis. I have a presentation prepared, but I really urge to ask questions. Don't let me just talk to you. For a lot of people I know, putting solar is like taxes. I don't do my own taxes because I don't know what's in that box. So feel free to ask. So there's some obvious benefits of adding solar, but there's some that are not, and especially not obvious for public entities. So the obvious ones are, we're preserving our natural resources, we're being good stewards of our environment, and we can save some money on our energy bills. The things that are not always apparent is there are ways to save money, especially for public entities, and procuring solar via taking advantage of the state and federal tax incentives, but there's very specific ways that you have to do that. The next two slides are slides of people around the state that are doing this. Some I'm sure you're aware of. Silver City's wastewater treatment plant was one of the first in the state, if not the first. But lots of other are doing it. Deming, Tier C. I just helped Tier C install that project. They own their own utility down there, so that's a great benefit to them. And they're not only public entities that are doing it, but places like Albuquerque Academy, a school in town, MCT Enterprises is a big privately owned contractor in Albuquerque that has a lot of solar on their facility. So I call this slide Solar 101, and just to give you a sense of what you can affect with solar and not. Typically solar energy can only provide a benefit on a utility rate that's, let's call it 7 cents and over, sometimes 6. So when we want to apply solar to a specific facility, we can't just apply solar to the whole rate, and we can't just apply solar to the whole bill, because there's parts of the bill that are not based on kilowatt hours. That's the volume of electricity that we're trying to offset. And we can only offset a volume of electricity that's over 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So when we strip out all those things that we can't offset with solar energy, that'll give us that can give us an array size, and that's what we did for your 3 facilities here. We wanted to find out what that true array size was for those 3 facilities. And then we look at, well, what's available from PNM for what's called net metering, which is for every kilowatt hour that an array would generate on a facility of yours, PNM's going to give you a credit for it. That will also give you credit for what are called renewable energy credits. So for every, they measure them in megawatt hours, which is 1,000 kilowatt hours, but you get dollar value credit for those. And those are available on a first come, first served basis from PNM, and timing's, it's all about the timing with getting in line for those. Any questions on any of that? So there are 3 basic ways to finance solar projects. One is obviously cash purchase. An entity has some disposable income and they just want to buy it. The second way to do it, and these are not in any order of preference, the second way to do it is what the industry calls a power purchase agreement, which is a procurement process by which a public entity, any entity can do it, but a public entity can benefit from a private party using state and federal tax incentives to apply to the cost of that facility. And it's that process that really interested Charlene and Misha, and why they called me to say, hey, is this really the case? And I'll go into some more detail on that here in a minute. And then you can leverage existing public contracts. And GSD has state purchase agreements for that kind of stuff. There are other standing contracts with other municipalities, and counties that can be leveraged to do that with. So cash purchase is just that. It is the cheapest way to get solar energy. Most public entities don't have that. They might have that kind of disposable income to spend on those projects, but it's usually better spent on other things. As I'm preaching to the choir. So a power purchase agreement, or sometimes they're referred to as an SPPA, a solar power purchase agreement, And power purchase agreements can be made for wind energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, so that's the designated with the SPPA. So the way that works is, I'll just put it very simply and then we can discuss it in more detail if you want to. You would sign a contract, or a public agency would sign a contract with a third-party private entity to buy electricity, period. Don't own any equipment, you might lease some land to them, but strictly all you're doing is buying electricity. And the only reason you would do that is if you can get it cheaper from that entity than you can from your local utility, P&M in this case. Prior to October 10th, which is when the new P&M rates, when the PRC approved the new revised P&M rates, the three buildings that we had looked at are on what P&M calls a 3B rate tariff or rate schedule. And although not huge savings, there were savings to be had in a power purchase agreement for those three facilities. Those rates have not changed, and that's not the case, and I'll discuss that a little later. PPAs are typically 20 to 25-year long contracts. They're that way because they're huge financial investments for whoever the third party is that you're contracting with. I'll use the array at TRC for an example. That's about a $3 million facility, and the investment community, the solar investment community, they'll get their tax incentives, both state and fed, and depreciation out of it at the end of the 5th year. That's for the IRS. But they still have to recoup costs, and that's why those are so long. They're nice because you can enter into them and set a rate, sometimes with an escalator on them, sometimes not. You don't have to put any cash into them. This slide is a comparison of the two between a purchase, and a cash purchase and a power purchase agreement. Purchases are always provide you the lowest cost of energy, but you have to have the cash to do it. The biggest challenges with a power purchase agreement is they're complicated, and oftentimes they take a long time to process because they are complicated. Questions on that?
No, I do want to, some of the things I've heard, is this is mainly from just individuals, that there is, by the time it's, and what it is the cost of the purchase or the cost of the equipment versus then the replacement time. In other words, by the time you purchase it and then you use the equipment, then it's almost time then, and you pay for it, then it's time to replace it. So there's never really a savings of like at the end of 5 years or whatever. You understand what I'm asking?
I do. There's a lot of factors that go into defining whether that in what time period that pays off or not.
Right.
There's just a ton of factors. We could spend a half a day talking about that. There are solar arrays in the state, namely up in Taos, that are 50 years old, and they're still making electricity.
Am I incorrect on when you go to a PPA or an SPPA, that really isn't a concern of the county in the respect that another group owns that equipment, and we're simply buying power from them at a lower rate than we would from P&M?
You are correct.
Okay.
It's not, and that's one of the beauties of the power purchase agreement. It's you don't care. Facetiously, you don't care if they're making electricity burning wood. There's 1,000 people out there riding bicycles. You don't care.
Answer my question. Thank you.
What? Any more questions? Since there are several solar projects in the state, there are a lot of entities that are leveraging other public contracts. That's handy because those contracts are pre-vetted by some other legal entity, usually a state or a publicly funded, attorney for you or Silver City. So there's a lot of savings to be had there, or economies of scale to be had there. The other thing that the New Mexico Procurement Code allows is as long as the solar energy that you're going to procure is at a price less than and a volume equal to or less than any existing power purchase agreement in the state, you can leverage that. People used to call it piggybacking, but that's not PC anymore. But you can leverage that contract and just use the same contract. You don't have to use that contractor, but you can use that same contract and hire somebody else to do that. So P&M, this is some discussion about the new rates. P&M for their larger clients, larger being like the City of Albuquerque, Water Utility Authority, people that are buying $20 million worth of electricity from them a year are doing rate analysis, detailed rate analysis. But for the rest of us, they are providing what they're calling area-specific analysis. And this was the first blush that we got from your rep, your P&M account rep. And it'll just give you a sense of what the new rate changes mean overall. Now Patrick Hall, Misha's been helping me work with him, and Patrick's going to provide you a very detailed spreadsheet that'll be every meter that you're financially responsible for, what rate it's on, and what its usage has been over the past 12 months. And when we get that information, then we'll be able to finish up on the feasibility study and tell you, do you have any meters that make sense or not? So the next slide, I'd like to point out is, it's a little hard to read, but this is just the 3B rate. So let me back up one, if I can. You see there, the third row down is General Power 3B. That's the meter the 3 meters that we had looked at for a feasibility study for your facilities. And you'll see that the average charge dropped 22%. So if you look, now this is just a 3B rate, but it's everything that's included inside the 3B rate. And if you look there in the middle, you'll see a negative 61.54%. That is the amount that just the energy rate dropped. So a lot of people go, so cool, my energy bill is going to go down 62%. Well, that's not the case. Because the new structure increased, like on the bottom you see there in red, those are the demand charges. And those charges are not based on the kilowatt hours, but on a peak demand. It's the highest kilowatt usage that you had in any one month, and it is a part of your bill. So that part of the bill went up 45%. So that's what correlates then back to the 22. You're still going to see a drop on that 3B rate. You're still going to see a drop in your bill, but it's not going to be that 60%. So as I mentioned earlier, these are the 3 we looked at. They did pencil prior to the new P&M rates for a power purchase agreement. They absolutely do not pencil now. These are the 3 master accounts that you have with P&M, and every meter is rolled up into one of those. And Patrick Hall is, I suspect if we don't have it this week, we'll have it early next, that spreadsheet, which will definitively tell us, do you have any meters that make sense to apply solar to? My educated guess is that you may have some 3C, some meters that are on the 3C rate tariff, and those may make sense. If you had any on an 11B, which is a pumping rate tariff, which you don't, I'm pretty certain, those would also make sense. Those would make a lot of sense. But we'll know as soon as we get that spreadsheet from P&M. And that's all I have. Questions?
So you made mention of, on the 3B meters, something about penciling out. So do you know about those yet, or they don't pencil out, or
They do not, I do know, and they will not pencil.
none of the 3 of them?
None of the 3D meters. They were marginal to the positive side prior to the rate change, but I think the return on investment, what I calculated the other day, the return on investment was like 28 years. So, from a financial standpoint, that's a negative net present value.
So I assume at a 28-year, you'd have a hard time finding somebody to be interested in putting all that equipment in and doing that and selling us energy. That's, yeah.
No, I tell you, this is something that early on when I first got on the commission, I was interested at that time in the detention center only, and I'm really anxious to see how this shakes out. It's something that I've been interested in for 4 years, less than 4 years. But so, thank you, Charlene, for having that interest and following through on it.
Does anybody have any questions, Mr. House?
One other thing worth mentioning is that storage, energy storage is something that's not new to the solar industry, but is gaining a lot of traction because like solar equipment, the price of that equipment is coming down. And facilities where there are large spikes in energy usage, consumption, those storage projects coupled with solar energy projects can take those spikes off of energy consumption. And then, before we were talking about the demand charges, it'll chop the top of those big spikes off using battery power. To do that, we have to have an IDR meter, special kind of meter. P&M has lots of them, and oftentimes they're willing to put them and install them so we can see what the usage is on a 15-minute interval for a year. The Roadrunner Food Bank in Albuquerque has one, and it's saving them a lot of money. So, but again, we'll know what kind of meters and what the demand usage is from all of your meters when we get that spreadsheet.
When do you anticipate that?
Pardon?
When do you anticipate that?
The spreadsheet?
Yeah.
End of this week, beginning of next.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not saying this to stick up for them, but they have a flood of us asking for that information because they want to know.
Yeah. So then how long will it take to get the analysis?
A couple days.
A couple days. So maybe we could hear from you in December?
Sure.
Good.
You have to.
All right.
Good.
Thank you very much for coming down. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time.
it. Okay, next item on the agenda is to review the November 17th regular meeting agenda, and I'll turn it over to Charlene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hall. This item, you have 3 separate minutes included in your packet for your review. Next item, financial reports. Item D, approve, disapprove November 14th, 2016 expenditure report. Randy, would you go over the highlights of that, please?
Sure, good morning. In your packet, you have an expenditure report period ending November 14th for a sum of $3,722,219.81. Of that is accounts payable of $298,733.49, and payroll totaling $423,486.32. To highlight some of our major expenses that we incurred during this reporting period are October and November aviation fuel totaling $33,000, a project payment for the Forgotten Veterans Workshop totaling $24,000, animal control services for $16,500, architectural services for the Santa Rita Station, $29,000, architectural services for the conference center, renovation for totaling $13,000, runway construction at the airport totaling $2 million, professional services for airport projects, $28,000, road construction materials for the Rosedale Road Colonias project totaling $279,000, and we did have just normal expenses as usual, utilities, lease payments, and insurance premiums.
I have none. Next, item E, approve, disapprove quarterly financial report ending September 30th, 2016. Randy?
In your packet, you do have the quarterly report. Just to highlight some of the major line items in the general fund, you have a beginning cash balance of $3,291,793, revenues to date of $1,283,269, transfers to date of $652,049, expenditures totaling $2,259,032, with a quarter-ending cash balance of $1,663,981, and that leaves an available cash balance of $1,099,223. In the road fund, we have a beginning cash balance of $305,251, revenues to date of $198,238, expenditures totaling $418,638, with a quarter-ending cash balance of $84,851, leaving available cash balance less the reserves of $49,964. The detention center fund, beginning cash balance of $0, revenues to date of $216,350, transfers of $482,213, expenditures to date $671,293, and the quarter-ending cash balance less, oh, there is no reserve for that, $27,207.
Thank you. Any questions? Moving on to new business. Item F, approve, disapprove inventory deletion for Lower Members Volunteer Fire Department. You have a list in your packets consists of bunker gear that they need to remove from inventory.
Do we have a place to put that, Randy? Do we have a place to put this bunker gear?
Mr. Chairman, what we do is we kind of look for donating to other departments, so we're in the process of that and seeing if
Who needs it?
who needs it, and might be even some people south of us that are always looking for that type of equipment, and we go through the fire marshal's office to try to get that done, so that's being looked at right now.
Okay, thank
So
you.
what do we do with it if in fact no one does want it?
It stays at the departments, but very seldom that's not the case, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hall. There is somebody out there that needs it or wants it, but if nobody does, then they'll just keep it stored or try to get rid of it somehow.
Thanks.
Next, item G, Ms. Claudia Biernick, continuation of discussion regarding the watershed district. She just requested to be on the agenda. She's not provided what the additional discussion is. And I finally had a few increments of hours of time to start going through some of the documents that she's provided, as well as some documents that the Watershed Board has provided to me to start reviewing, but I'm a long way from determining whether she's correct or incorrect, but I am working on it. Item H, Mr. Ben Rasmussen, presentation regarding local food procurement draft policy. Recently, in one of his reports, one of our previous meetings, he mentioned this. He has provided a draft local food procurement policy that he will be presenting to you on Thursday. Upon initial review of that, there may be some issues with the state procurement code and actually being able to meet some of the guidelines he's outlined in this draft policy and be in compliance with the procurement code. We'll take a look at that after Thursday. Next,
That's where they want to grow their own, locally grown.
what he's wanting is to purchase locally grown. Some of it conflicts with the procurement code. But. Next item, agreements. Item I, approve, disapprove agreement A-16-46, grant agreement with State of New Mexico Local Government Division for CDBG project 16-C-RS-I-04-G-91. We are determined if we leave this on there long enough that perhaps they'll get us a grant agreement. We have enlisted Howie's help in trying to push them to please get us this grant agreement. We have now wasted a month sending them the same information over and over and over, and continuing to question things that are in the application that they've approved. It's been quite a frustrating process.
I think what they're going to see is that we're not going to go away.
No,
So they might as well give in, but about the time one time they'll say, you got to do this, Misha will get it put together and send it in, and in one meeting, he called to see if in fact we had done everything, because we had accomplished. Before the meeting was over, they called back and said, oh, by the way, you need to, without ever letting us know. So, Misha, your persistence is appreciated. And yours too, Charlene.
So hopefully we'll have that. If not, we'll table it again. Next item, J, approve, disapprove agreement A-16-48, inmate housing contract with Hidalgo County for housing of female inmates. Recently spoke with the Hidalgo County manager. Hidalgo County recently obtained a contract to hold ICE inmates, and when they fill up with those inmates, those detainees, they have nowhere to go with their females. So what they would like to do when they reach those circumstances is house their female inmates only here in Grant County. So that's what this is for, a charge of $60 per day, and we would limit the amount that we were able to hold. So that's what they said they could entertain as far as our price. Do you have any concerns?
Do they have a backup?
Luna County. Any questions, concerns over that? Okay. Next item is approve, item K, approve, disapprove October 2016 health plan claims in the amount of $12,701.38. There's 4 claims to Gila Regional Medical Center in the amount of $11,795.38, and 1 claim to Gila Regional Medical Center ambulance in the amount of $906 for a total of $12,701.38. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hall, that concludes our agenda.
So are we paying those claims to the Gila Regional, are we paying those out of the line item of the indigent fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alrighty. Next item on the report, or on the agenda, excuse me, is county reports, and we'll start with Mike.
Mr. Chairman, Commission members,
my report for October 14th to November 10th, 2016. Item 1, policy procedures, status remains the same. The detention facility update, currently have no vacancies at the facility. Detention, item number 3, status remains the same also. Item number 4, on our training update, the following personnel completed their first aid refresher training. Sergeant Galindo, Corporal Gojkovic, Officers Wellborn, Atencio, and North. That pretty much brings us up to where we need to be as far as our first aid refresher training. Item number 5, on our intervention, the inmate support program. The committee met on November the 9th, and we're developing a plan for a presentation before the Grand County Prospectors Legislative Forum. And tomorrow, well, actually, it'll be today, we're going to do a conference call with Officer Camacho from the Las Cruces Police Department, and we're going to have further discussion on the crisis intervention team. Item number 6, on our recognition awards program, we're awaiting nominations for employees for the month of November. On the item number 7, on our detention statistics, the average daily population for November 10th, 2016 was 85, it's 3 less than last month. High population males is 74, 1 less than last month. High population females is 21, 7 less than last month. Currently, for November 10th, 2016, there are 95 inmates that were booked into the facility. Between November 12th, 2015 and November 10th, 2016, the average daily population confined in the facility was 77. The average length of stay for this reporting period is 33.75 days. And I provided you those, the ARC report and also the CJ, the Survey of Jail and Inmate Confinement reports. The statistics that I've just given you show a slight decrease in activity as compared to last month. Item number 8, our monthly arrest totals for October of 2016. Silver City Police Department had 89, Grand County Sheriff Department 33, New Mexico State Police 27, Baird Police 5, Santa Clara 8, Hurley 6. There was none from Western New Mexico Police, and there was 1 from the New Mexico Game and Fish. And the facility held 2 inmates from Hidalgo County and 1 from Sierra County. The detention facility conducted 21 district court transports. Division 1 Magistrate Court was 39, Division 2 Magistrate Court was 11, Silver City Municipal Court 0. The remainder of the municipal courts in the county had 0. We had 1 medical transport during this reporting period for a total number of 72 transports as compared to 75 for last month. Item number 10, we have 31 probation violation inmates currently. We have no parole violators. Probation violation inmates awaiting transport and sentencing to a facility or rehabilitation center. Totals 4. The average length of time for judgment and sentencing before transport is usually about 30 days. Total inmates charged with warrants is 59, and the total number of special management inmates for November 10th is 11. My report, sir.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. You can imagine the rain hasn't been nice to the road department or my budget. So we're still out there plugging along. Want to remind people, just be patient. We'll get to everybody's concerns. These big rains we've had has just been detrimental to the county roads this year. Rosedale Road is paved. There's still some drainage structures that are being worked on out there. I'm waiting for the phone company to relocate some lines so Southwest can get back in there and finish out their part of the contract. I'm hoping by the end of December, with the holidays coming up, that project will be completely done on there.
I had an opportunity to drive that the other day, and that's going to be a nice road, I tell you, when it gets completed. And I drove out to see a person who is constantly calling me on that road, and he's really excited, and his wife is. So good job on that.
Okay, thanks. They've been real receptive out there. I'd like to thank them for their patience on that thing. They're after us to finish the whole thing now. So. Other than that, it's just business as usual down there at the road department.
Okay. I got one message for you. I'll get you after the meeting. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just real quick, 3 HVAC units were finished at the courthouse over the DA's offices. Boiler was serviced and is lit. So for that, we're ready for the winter on that building. At the airport, we finally finished the runway rehabilitation project. So all that's been done, painting's been done. So that has been complete. Justin is currently working on emergency generator. Require that. So he's talking with FAA about funding, and hopefully we can get that done in case we had some electrical issues with lightning this past year, and so runway lights were down, and so that's kind of a safety issue, and we're working on that to hopefully get that done. Business as usual everywhere else. We did have a break-in at Coda Caminos a couple weekends ago. Not a whole lot of damage, $1,200 or so of damage done. There was some money taken, not a whole lot. So that's being investigated by the Silver City Police Department. I want to thank them for the response real quick. Not much damage to the building inside. Could have been a lot worse, but I think the people knew exactly where they were going and what they were going after, and so they got in there and got out right away. We're working on issues pertaining to safety and security there, so as we go forward, we're hoping that we'll rectify that in the future and make sure that we have cameras or whatever it takes to make sure we secure the facility. Also, we're working on putting an official bus stop here in the parking lot. If you've seen some of the work's being done now, so that we can get a better than just a bench out there. Kind of moved it away from that corner area right there. So we'll be working on that project in the next week or so. Fire department's business as usual. Other than that, I want to echo what everybody said about Mr. Zamaripa, the county clerk. Rob, you know, you're a class act, man, and you've done everything right, and I appreciate it. I know when I was elected official, every time I came to you with questions, you had answers for me, and so I appreciate all you've done for this county, and wish you the best of luck going forward. So unless you have any other questions, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Without running any numbers, as far as the fuel sales at the airport, are they up, down?
They're up consistently, yeah. We're consistently providing fuel. Actually, today, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Hall, we had military. We're getting a lot of military flights in, coming from Fort Bliss and going towards California, and this is their stop. So we're working with them. Boutique is continuing to buy fuel on a consistent basis. So as far as the jet fuel is concerned, that is consistently being sold. The avgas not sold, but you know it's that time now. We're getting into the winter months. When we had the fire season, it was really, I mean, we were blessed to have the fuel farm up and running the way we did. So we learned from that. We're moving forward, and next year will even get better as we look forward to providing the Forest Service with the fuel they'll need in case we get any kind of fires in the region, not just in Grand County, but in the region, Southwest region.
Good job. That was a good investment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Misha?
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Hall, we discussed DECASA a little bit. I did receive a message from Senator Morales after he left that he's contacted the local government division, and we will have it soon. Don't know what that means, but we will have it soon.
Well, you know, I've been in other situations where I've asked him his help, and when he says that, it normally happens.
Yeah.
So that's good. Good job.
LS Mesa Fire Station, construction's underway. They were scheduled to pour the foundation today. I know it was weather permitted. Weather looks good, so hopefully that's moving forward. Santa Rita Fire Station, we advertised the bid on that. It went out Saturday and Sunday this last weekend, so we're moving forward. Wind Canyon, I've been trying to read through the processes, worked with Abby on that. We still have a ways to go now that we've got the agreement or the bid from Fowler Brothers and the approval on that, and then the information from Earl on the portion that the road department's going to do. But as far as I know, I think we have to do another hearing once we get the assessment roll, and then we'll have to do the resolution for the assessment roll. to get final approval that everyone wants to move forward with the cost the way it is, and then the county will need to get the loan to pay for that. The Colonias 2017 notice of intent is done, been submitted. Applications open December 1st. I've already worked on a resolution that I'll have for you guys at the next month's meeting. And the project that we're going to apply for is the Rosedale Road to continue. Hopefully even get it done, but we'll see how much money we can get from Colonias for that. And I know that Commissioner Ramos is not here, but on the Fort Baird marshes, I contacted SWCA and asked them to partner with Bohannon and see if they could speak with Mayor Bausch about doing a possible feasibility study, since we got the information from the last field trip that we took to the marshes there in Lakeside Pine Top and Show Low. So I know that they've been in contact with him, and maybe something will move forward on that. All right, any questions?
No, I appreciate your work. You're gonna have to be handling the HMS and 2 CASA this next week, because I won't be there.
Okay, that's on Friday.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Shirley?
Goodness. One quick update on the transfer of the senior programs to HMS. We had anticipated trying to have a January 1 transition date. After we've started diving into all the details, we realized that that is probably not feasible. So we are looking at a complete transition by March of 2017. So I just want to give you an update on that.
Okay. Commissioner, you have anything you want to talk about today, or you want to wait till
I'll wait
Thursday?
till Thursday.
Okay, does anybody have anything else they want to say? Sheriff, good to see you. Pictures Thursday? Okay, so I guess at this time, take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.